At the beginning of every day, what we like to do is give a brief introduction, since most of the students and most of the instructors have never played lacrosse before, and usually they've never even seen a game played on TV or at a live game. So we do like to start off the day with a little bit of history, the difference between the boys game and the girls game, and a brief safety talk to kind of set the tone for the day and get them excited about the lacrosse drills that they're going to do. So first I'd like to introduce Coach Meg. She's going to go through our history of lacrosse.
Lacrosse is one of the oldest sports in North America. It was originally played by the Indians as tribal warfare. It was introduced in the United States by a Canadian dentist named Dr. William Beers, who is credited with the modern game by putting time regulations on the length of game and field space. The women's game was brought to the United States in 1926 when a woman named Rosabelle Sinclair was appointed athletic director at the Bryn Mawr School in Baltimore, Maryland.
Because there are such big differences between the boys game and the girls game, even though we don't have enough time to go through all of the differences or the intricacies of each game, we do like to just give a brief introduction of why the sticks and the equipment are different, and to give them a little bit of information about what they should be looking for if they want to go and get their own equipment, because they're obsessed with lacrosse after our program. Now I'd like to introduce Coach Jen, who will talk about the differences between the boys and girls equipment.
So as you've heard, the history of lacrosse did start with the Indians, and this is a lot like what they would have used back then. It has bent wood, they would steam it and curl it, and then it has leather throwing strings, sinew, and these were things that they were available to them. This is the goalie stick, and it's going to be the same for the guys and the girls. See the very large head on it. It does have a deeper pocket, and it's all mesh. This is the girls stick. You'll notice there's not much pocket to it, and it has 4 leather throwing strings. This would be the guy's stick. It has a much bigger pocket, and it's all made from mesh in the pocket. This is the PE stick. It's made from plastic. The head is made from plastic. It's a little bit cheaper and easier for maintenance.
Many schools that we visited were surprised when we brought out our equipment with these plastic PE sticks, because they remembered, oh my gosh, we have 40 of those in our equipment shed. So even though most schools do not have lacrosse units in PE right now in these developing areas, what they do sometimes have are 30-year-old equipment in their shed that's totally usable, and truthfully is very similar to the one that we're going to be demonstrating with today. So it's always worth asking when you get there, hey, do you guys happen to have any of these? It got popular in the 80s, and a lot of schools ended up buying them, and then when the PE teachers didn't use them, they got relegated to the corner of some trailer in their PE area. So definitely ask, and you'll be pleasantly surprised how many have at least some of these that they could actually start using right away. The last bit that we always end with in our intro before we break down into groups is about safety. This is without a doubt the #1 concern that most PE teachers have about allowing us to come in and teach lacrosse for a day or adding it into their own curriculum. And so we like to go through some basic rules that are very easy to remember, and it helps us keep the day safe and fun. And Coach Mackenzie is going to go through our safety talk.
So we are playing a form of soft lacrosse, meaning that we are changing some rules and we're using a soft ball. We found that tennis balls work best. It's easier to get a big donation to your program if you have a local tennis program or something, and they're just easier to see and spot because we're afraid that we don't want to lose the balls. We're not only concerned for your personal safety, but the equipment safety. Just make sure that you're not jousting your teammates or your friends. And if there is any of that, we are going to have to take your stick away and make you sit out. We don't want to do that, of course, but it's just for your safety and ours as well. We do not allow any checking, so if someone has the ball, we don't allow you to hit their stick or any part of them. We need you to pay attention. If someone has the ball and you're playing catch, we need you to be looking at the person with the ball so that there's no possibility of you getting hit or anybody around you. If you're in a line, I need you to hold your stick down to the ground so that you're not flailing around in the air.
demonstrate when you've broken down into your groups is how to hold the lacrosse stick. There are lots of different schools of thought on this, and what it really comes down to is personal comfort and the ability to be flexible with your hands to make sure that you're doing the throwing, catching, and cradling properly. So there is a teeny bit of variation, but there are three main ways to get a proper grip on the lacrosse stick, and we're going to demonstrate those to you right now. The first one is you use your elbow. So Coach Mackenzie's going to show you, you grab the bottom of the stick with your bottom hand, you place your elbow against the shaft, and then you just grab with your top hand. And again, that's like a nice, comfortable, shoulder width apart grip on the stick. The second way that Coach Meg is going to show you is a lot of times we just tell the kids to just drop their hands down and get a nice, comfortable width that way. The one thing you do need to remind them is that their bottom hand goes on top of the stick and the top hand goes underneath it. So the hands are going in two different directions, and then that's usually a good, comfortable place for them to hold the stick that way. Last but not least, you just tell them to grab about 6-8 inches down from the top with that top hand, and then just add the bottom hand on the bottom. They basically all end up at the same place, but depending on what type of kids you have, or if you've tried one way and they're not really getting it, maybe you can try a different way, whichever one makes the most sense and is the most effective for you.
The proper way to pick up a ground ball is to keep your stick on your side, your foot aligned with the ball, make sure you bend your knees, and get your knuckles down to the grass.
For throwing a lacrosse ball, you will always hold your stick with your dominant hand on the top and your other hand on the bottom. So when you're throwing the ball, it's a pushing-pulling motion. You're pushing with your dominant side and you're pulling with your other side.
When catching the ball, you want to have your stick ready, and when it comes towards you, you want to give a little bit so it stays in your stick and then go directly into your cradle.
One of my favorite parts of the game of lacrosse is that at the beginning of every half and after every goal, there's what's called a draw in girls lacrosse or a face-off in boys lacrosse, which is a lot like a tip-off at the beginning of a basketball game. Unlike most sports, however, after somebody scores, it's not automatically rewarded to the other team. Both teams have a 50% chance of getting that ball back and maintaining possession. So first we're going to demonstrate what the draw looks like, and this is what would happen at the beginning of every half of a girls lacrosse game, as well as after every goal scored during the game. One person from each team sets up facing each other, and the one rule is that the netting of the stick has to be between the ball and the goal that you're defending. These two are called centers. The ball is placed in between their two sticks. The ref backs away, and on the whistle they go up and away, popping the ball up and starting the game. Very similar to the draw in girls lacrosse, in the boys game it is called a face-off, and the one big difference is that instead of standing, these two centers are crouched in an athletic kind of squatty pose, and the ball is placed on the ground in between their two sticks, and on the whistle both try to flick it out to a person waiting outside the circle or to themselves where they can pick up the ground ball and carry it down the field.